There was a tombstone that on it stated the following, quote, "It's always something." End of quote. It's very true. It is always something. Something going on, something needs to be addressed. The car needs to be repaired. The job offer arrives, but it means moving to another city. Taxes are raised at the same time as the salary is reduced. A family member calls at 1 o'clock in the morning from the police station. The doctor's office calls and leaves a message stating they want to redo the blood test again. And on and on and on. It's always something. Indeed, life may be quiet, but we always add, quite sure of our foresight, that it is a quiet before the storm. When we face these challenges, we instinctively reach for the resources that we need. And usually that means marshaling our finances and networking with fellow workers, fellow sufferers, and friends. And when it is appropriate and serious enough, we go the whole 9 yards, and that's when we reach into the spiritual realm. We expect help from God and/or the collective prayers of others. And from our prayers, we state what the Spirit is supposed to do for us. It's often spelled out in very precise details of what the Spirit is supposed to do for us in our time of difficulty. Although we tell ourselves it won't happen, sometimes we hope against hope and expect divine intervention. This divine intervention does not have to be angelic, not an angelic revelation, or even a full-blown theophany. But when things suddenly shift and go in our favor, then we have no problem in saying, "Thank God." Spiritual help is construed as an outside agent, changing the outer flow of events. As long as we feel helpless in the face of "it's always something," we will seek greater powers to get things done. But what exactly is spiritual help? Spiritual help may not be directly about problem solving, about effectively engaging. It's always something. Once we are situated more fully in the home of our soul, we can engage "it's always something" with a more thorough understanding. We are not on our own, but we are sustained each moment by the Spirit who is beyond us. And that is the difference between scarcity and abundance. In the gospel, both Philip and Andrew are mired in the material. When they are asked, how are we going to feed these people? What they see 5,000 people, and they think about how much food will be needed to feed all these people. And as they begin to count, they say, "This is overwhelming. There is no way we're going to be able to feed all these people." The physical dimension of scarcity. There are too many people, there's too little food, there's too little time to prepare. Therefore, this is an impossibility before them. the physical law of scarcity that the disciples know is replaced by the spiritual law of abundance that Jesus knows. It is this spiritual law of abundance that the disciples, and we too, must learn to trust in, participate in, and to live out of that spiritual law of abundance. The physical law of scarcity can only understand giving away as a process of diminishment, leading to nothing at all. It's like, well, I have these things, but if I give them away, then I don't have anything. Looking at it from the scarcity. The spiritual law of abundance understands giving away as a process of expansion, leading to a sacred fullness. We've heard the saying, it is in giving that we receive. A spirituality of abundance. It is in giving that we receive. In God there is not a scarcity in the Holy Spirit. For our part, it's trusting. It's trusting that opens us to sharing. It's trusting in the abundance of God, to take what we have and do with it as God wishes. And we know that it is in abundance when we give of what we have, is God brings it to a spirituality of abundance. Look at what we heard, 5 barley loaves and 2 fish to feed 5,000 people. Scarcity says it's impossible. But Jesus in abundance says, I can take that and feed the 5,000. Jesus takes what we have and uses it to build up the kingdom. Think about this. Time in our lives is so precious. Oh, I don't have time to do this. I don't have time to do that. Oh, I've got to do this. I just don't have the time. But think what we can do when we look at making time to reach out to family, being with someone in need, being a friend, being neighborly, taking the time of ours, taking our time and sharing it. Abundance. We can look at it in many different ways, from our time of what we have, our gift of faith, sharing that gift of faith. This morning at the 9 a.m. Mass, we had the rite of welcome for individuals who were looking to grow deeper in their faith and through the Catholic Church. And by their coming, and by our parishioners who work with them, sharing the gift of faith. Sharing that gift of faith, and look what it is. It's growing. It's sharing an abundance. We can look at it from the faith perspective, from time perspective, and from material perspective. Last weekend, we had the St. Vincent de Paul collection. A collection assisting others. Takes what we have and makes an abundance out of it. For us to be able to help others to pay their utility bills, to pay their insurance. Think about that. It's taking what we have and sharing it. It's growing and trusting in the abundance of God, of giving what we have. 5 barley loaves, 2 fish. My precious time to give to God, to allow Him to do with what He has, what He chooses. the material things, the financial, giving it into God. Not out of the sense of scarcity, but allowing God to do that work with it in abundance. We have to move beyond, or we are called to move beyond this mentality of scarcity. We to be willing and trusting to bring forward what we have. And when we trust in God, as we bring forward what we have, God does amazing things. It is a spirituality of abundance in what God does. There will always be, it's always something. There will always be, it's always something. We trust and experience that there will always be God. There is always something. But we trust and know that there will always be God.